So why would you not work with a plan? I'm not really sure. I would work with a plan because stuff like this is cheap. If I want to use paper and tape and cardboard to build things with, it's relatively cheap. I can build lots of that kind of stuff. If I want to build with wood or 3D printing plastic or electronics or you name it, when you get to the point where you're building real stuff, that gets a little more expensive. But the biggest reason is right here. The most expensive resource I have is my time as a designer. I want to do as much as I can quickly in an efficient way. And the most efficient way I can do that is on paper. That's the least time intensive of my options in most cases. Now, there are cases when you want to jump in and just start building something. Maybe you don't know how this material works, and you're doing an experiment to figure out, will this actually do what I envision in my head with this kind of metal or this kind of wood or this hinge or whatever it is. And you have to actually get in and work with it in order to understand it better. That's a piece of it. And that's a piece of what we do here in middle school. You're learning how all this stuff works. So in some cases, jumping in and building first may be a good idea. The vast majority of cases, and specifically when you're not just experimenting with, does this do what I think it does, but you're building toward a real product, you want to have a plan, because mistakes that you make on paper are cheap in terms of time and fixing. Mistakes that you make in the real thing, those are expensive to fix. And sometimes they're not fixable. Sometimes you have to go and figure out, with lots more time and effort, how can I make this mistake that I built into my system, my plan didn't account for? My product actually has this thing in it now that I have to deal with. Maybe it's too short, too big, too wrong angled. It doesn't look the way I thought it would. It's not the size that I thought, like I made it this big and I should have, whatever it is. If you made it in the real world, you then have to deal with that. And that's expensive.